This lesson on subroutines is a follow-up lesson from the previous lesson on making a menu system. For those, if you haven't seen that one before, essentially what's happened is the scenario is you ask somebody to enter a string, which you record as test in the variable test here. It's going to give them a few options. They pick one of those options, and then you run the code associated with it. I haven't done this one here, which is count an individual letter. So I want to do that quickly now. So if the option is equal to 3, what do we want to do? Well, in this case, it's going to be, do you know what? Actually, no. I'm going to write the subroutine, and then I'm going to show you how you do it with the subroutine. I think that would be actually neater. So my argument, I said, was that we've got a single line of code. Packaging that up into another subroutine, maybe it doesn't save us that much time, but then I'm going to demonstrate its worth later on. So how am I going to do this? Well, notice the whole time you've been coding so far, all of it's happened inside public static void main. This is a subroutine called main, and it's static because there can only be one place to start, and therefore it's where it's going to start from. And for the moment, we're also going to have to use the phrase static. We're going to have to use the static declaration for any other subroutine we're going to use. So I'm going to create a subroutine for this. The length is test.length. So underneath here, I might have to make it a little bit smaller so I can actually fit it in. Oh, gone wrong way. There you go. I think that's still readable. So I'll look at where my subroutine begins and ends. This curly bracket here is where it ends. I need to do it outside of this declaration. So I can make it public. That means it gives it visibility outside the class. Technically, you don't even need that. You could leave that blank. Static, yes. Now, witness before it says the word void. I'm going to put void in this time, and then I'm going to show you how we can do it a little bit different. Void, essentially, this is where it returns a value. Here it's saying I'm not returning any value. I need to give it a name, so how I call it str length. That's the name of my subroutine. What do I need to send it? Well, it's going to be sent an individual string. So string s. Okay. And it's happy with me. It's not doing anything. What do I want to do? Well, what I could do is I can take this code here. The length is that code there. I'm going to crop it, cut it rather. And then I'm going to put that code in here. Now, what do I need to do different? Well, first of all, I'm saying that the string it receives as a parameter is not called test, it's called s. So I have to go s.length. And now it's fixed. If I run it now, and I pick, I write a string, oh, I've got an old one, my apologies. If I pick a string, Bob, and I go 1, now what's going to happen, hopefully, is it's going to tell us this way, but I've made a massive error, deliberately so. So we're hoping it's going to say the length is 3, and it does nothing. Why does it do nothing? Well, we've written the subroutine called str.length. Unfortunately, we then have not called it. Just like you call somebody in real life, you call them by their name, we call the subroutine by its name. What's the name of this subroutine? str length. So I'm going to type in str length. Done. Not happy with me. Why is it not happy with me? Well, do you see up here when you've gone next, open bracket, close bracket, you've been calling a subroutine. That's what's been happening the whole time. So I have to go open bracket, close bracket. Still not happy with me. Why? Well, with .next, you don't have to send it any values. With str.length, it has one parameter value, the string. So what string do I have to send it? I have to send it test. Let's talk about what's going to happen here. So test is being set as blank. It's been given an input, and now it's been sent to this subroutine here. Test has been put over as s. Now, I'll make this quick because we need to cover this properly in the future. When you pass a parameter, you either do it by value or by reference. In Java, it's always by value. What does that mean? What's the implication? The implication is this. When I sent it test, the original test is kept the same, but a copy is made And now S is a copy of test, an identical copy, and then it's done.length. I don't expect you to process this fully, but with reference, what would happen is that S wouldn't be a copy of test. S would be pointing to the original test value, and it would change the original. So by value, it makes a copy. By reference, you are making a new reference to that memory location. It will change the original. Should we run it? Should we see if it works? Oh, let's get rid of the old one. So Bob, and now when I do 1, it's going to say the length is 3. Okay, more learning is necessary. What more learning do we need to do? Well, here's some of the stuff we need to do. There are 2 types of subroutines. There are procedures, and then there are functions. And the big difference is this. A function, when you send it something, it returns a value. A procedure does not return a value. Is this a function or procedure? Does it return a value? Now you might be thinking, yeah, absolutely, it returns it. It says it prints out the length. Okay, by return it means does it send a value back from the subroutine to this original subroutine it's called from? Does the length be sent backwards? And do you know what? It doesn't send it backwards, right? It sends the test value over here and it does something with it, but it never returns. So this is a procedure. And the way you know in Java it's a procedure is it says the word void. Void means it returns void. It returns nothing. We can change this. So actually, instead of it printing it directly, we actually send the value back. What value is going to be sent back? The length. Is the length going to be an integer or a string? It's going to be an int. So I change this to int. Now, this is not happy with me because, well, this is not what I need to do. In fact, I'm just going to, let's think about what we need to do. I'm going to get rid of all this bit, the print out bit. And all I care about is getting the length. It's still not happy with me. Why is it not happy with me? Because there's a key word I need to include, and that is literally the word return. Return in a function means this thing here, whatever's right after the return, that is what I'm sending back. So when I'm doing it now, when I run it, it's going to call it. I want you to predict what's going to happen. So I type in Bob. I'll hit 1. When I hit 1, that's going to be called. What do you think it's going to do? Nothing. Strictly speaking, things are happening, but they're not being displayed. So what's happened is that the length of S is being returned and put here, but then I never did anything with it. What could I do with it? Well, I could say I could store it, int lang, so I could store the value inside a variable because I've sent it back here. And then maybe I could print it out. So I could say the length is plus leng. Should we see? So I'll run the file. I'll close the last one. So I can do Bob. I pick 1. And now what's going to happen is that Bob is sent over to our new subroutine. The length is generated here, so 3. That length is returned and now stored in lang. So lang will be stored as 3. And say the length is 3. Do you have to store it in a variable as you go along? No. Let me comment that out. I could just do it directly here. So I could say, I could call the subroutine. What is the name of the subroutine? str length, and send it test. And now I can do it in the one line. So I could say Bob and 1. Okay, well, we've got this learning here. Why don't we extend it to this one here? Option 2. We want to do put an X at the beginning, at the end. I'd love it if you paused it right now and try to actually write this yourself. So write another subroutine. Remember, you want to do it outside this and outside this one. So I'd start it, for me, directly underneath. So public static. Well, I'm not going to say it. Why don't you write it as a function, make it return the string, and then print it. So give it a try. Pause me now and attempt to solve that yourself. We'll do 3. Hang on. 2, 1. Right, okay. So I'm going to try and solve it now. So it'll be static because you're calling it from static context. I'm returning a string, so the data type here would be string. I need a suitable name. How about add x to str, string s, and then I'm saying return, so I've received s, and I can return x plus s plus x, semicolon. When I go in here, I could directly just print out add x to str, and then I'll send it. What am I going to send it? Am I going to send it s? No, I'm going to send it test, because that's the name of my string in here. Now, admittedly, this is not a great demonstration so far, because you're like, well, what you've done is made life a lot more complicated than it was before to do something not very hard. And I agree with you. Okay, so that works. I agree with you that that's the case. Let's look at something a little bit more complicated, like this. Count an individual letter. Okay, so I'm going to put it here. I'm going to think about the subroutine first. So, public static, it's going to count how many times an individual letter comes back. So if I write as a function, is that going to return a string or a float or a boolean or an int? It's going to return an int, right? Because it'd be a whole number of letters that will appear. So int count char. I'm going to open bracket, hit enter. Okay. How many things is it going to be sent? Well, this is decision time. So you could, at this stage here, inside here, ask for the string and ask for the individual character and send it. And I think I'll do that. Or you could actually ask for it in here, in the loop. Sorry, in the subroutine. My bad. Because this is the first time we're using more than one parameter, I think I'm going to do it where you ask in the main code here for the two values, and then we're going to send it here. So I'm going to say that you're going to send it the string that you're checking, and you're checking for the individual character. Okay, so to set this up, I'll need to say, we've already got the string, so I need something like, what letter are you looking for? This is not the best English. And then I'll have, remember I said I should try and declare all my variables in the same place? So I'm going to declare up here, char let, and here I'll say, so that's just the declaration, let equals input dot next, which is going to give me the whole string. But if I do char at 0, then that first letter will be taken as a character, and then I'll send it the string, so the test string and the character. And here I'm going to say how many times does it appear. So I'll need a total, int tot equals 0, and I'm going to say for int I, because I'm going to want to loop through this this string, test.length. Do I want to go to the end? No, I want to go to the end -1, I++. And as I go through here, oh, why is it not happy with test? Because I'm not referring to test over here, right? I'm referring to s, because that's what I've been sending it. Okay, s, and when I go through, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to see if that is one of the characters. So I'll see if s.char, oops, dot the char at the position I, so that'll be 0, 1, 2, 3 as you go along. If that is equal to what? Equal to C, right? What you sent it. The letter you sent it. If it is equal, what do? Well, we add 1 to tot. If it's not equal, what do? Nothing, right? At the end of this for loop, what do we need to do? Why is this a red squiggly line? Well, I'm saying it's a function, and it's going to send back an integer. What was the reserve word for a function that's returning a value? Oh, I'm kind of giving it away. Return. So return and then tot. Okay. Here, we now need to access this subroutine. How do we access the subroutine? By calling it. What do we call it by? By its name or its identifier, which is count char. So count char. How many parameters have I said it's going to have? 2. So I can send it test, because that's the name of my string, and I'm going to send it let, which is the name of my character. Now, remember, as we learned earlier, this won't do anything, because what it will do is that's not true. It won't display anything. It will return this tot, and then I've told it to do nothing. So you can either have an intermediary num lets, an intermediary variable that catches the number of integers, or you could just, in here, output, there are, bear in mind, this will just return the number of characters that exist. So there are, I don't know, 4 whatever of, and then I can add on let. So I'm saying there are, well, if I do, why don't I just do this? So let me just run it, assuming I've not made an error, and fingers crossed I haven't. So let's do Bob, but I'll do it with lowercase b's. Count an individual letter. So in this case, I want a TB. What we're hoping is going to happen is that B is picked up as let. Let is sent here and turns into C, and remembered by value, makes a copy. Test is that original string, picked up as S, and then hopefully what's going to happen is that it's going to go through that string in a for loop, look for the number of times B shows up, counts that L up, returns a value here, and says there are 2 of B. Whoops. So there are 1 of B, so I've made a bit of a boo-boo somewhere in my code, but this is the nice thing about subroutines now, okay? Because I've split my code up, now I can just focus on this area over here and see where the error might be. So total starts at 0. Every time where it's character I, oh, you know where the error is? I said what I is less than the length of I. Length of I is going to be 3. So it will go 0, 1, whoops, where am I? 0, 1, 2. But will it go to 2? Because I've said it's the length of I minus 1. So Bob was 3 in length, minus 1 is 2. So it goes 0, 0 is less than 2, 1 is less than 2. Is 2 less than 2? No. So it will stop. So I've got a boundary issue. And this is part of the reason why I get to show you this, is that now I don't have to worry about looking inside, unpacking this whole bit. I can actually see that the error is located inside this subroutine. In fact, that's one of the main reasons you use subroutines, is it helps you to really debug it, because you're capturing the complexity in this subroutine, and you know it's not in this big block of code. It's somewhere in here. And in fact, it's that one there. The other thing you can do, of course, is you can quite easily send it additional values. You could do valid, invalid, and boundary testing, and it helps you find the error. So, shall we see that again? Where was my output? Here we go. So let's stop that. Let's rerun it. Enter string, Bob. Count an individual letter. So pick 3, looking for B, and now there are 2 of B. Awesome. People, this is just the beginning. Have you not been doing loads of questions on string manipulation, on integer manipulation? This would be a great opportunity for you to add in some of your subroutines in here to learn the practice, to use subroutines and functions, procedures. Because, of course, the goal, you've actually been writing subroutines, but the goal is not just how to write them. How do you send things backwards and forwards using functions between different values? So I'm going to leave it at this point. The next thing you should do is be like, so maybe 5 is now quit, or maybe you make 8 quit, change that to 8, and then you could write in 4 is some other string function done, and you can have a go at trying to add it in here, make it be sent from here back to the main bit of code here, and you can learn how to send data backwards and forwards from functions. Okay, so best of luck with that. You know, this can be quite a difficult next stage, is actually writing modular code. But this is a really important thing to transition into, because it allows you to really write much more sophisticated code where you don't have to worry about all the complexity. It really works well with decomposition, essentially, where you can just focus on writing the individual subroutine and not worried about the whole big picture, because all these different subroutines will come together and form the big picture. Okay, so enjoy, best of luck.